Hi there, this is Penny Manus Diefendorf with your Daily Grain. Today I want to talk about something that seems to be a trend these days, or becoming more of a trend these days, and it's simplicity and minimalism and cutting back on extraneous things in life. So this is something I'm totally on board with, because I really feel, and the reason I started Truth Redux was because we need simpler solutions, we need simpler times. But for today, I want to have you make the distinction between simplicity and asceticism. And there's a huge difference. So simplicity is keeping things clean, clear, easy to grasp, easy to wrap your mind around. It is not necessarily the bare bones existence of asceticism. And this is an important thing for you to understand, because very often it is confused, and therefore people forego simplicity because they think they have to live like hermits or monks, etc., etc. Not in the least. So asceticism has overtones of an enforced bare bones living. You have deprived yourself of XYZ in order to live a simple life. But indeed, it is not necessary to deprive yourself. Do you need to eliminate things? Yes, but those are the things that are surplus to requirement anyway, and that are just cluttering up your life and making it more complex than it needs to be. So it is the very opposite, if you look at it that way, of deprivation. Because you are simplifying your life into the things that truly mean something to you, you are most certainly not deprived. No, you have the room and the space and probably the finances to fill your life with things that are meaningful, and yet it is simple. So this is the distinction I want you to consider carefully today. So simplicity is really your natural choice, or your natural choices. The rest of the things that you have eliminated from your life are not your natural choices. They are things you probably thought you should do or you should have. So living life simply puts you in the flow of your true path, of your true destiny. If you wanted to look at it simplistically, which is not generally recommended, but one of the ways is to look at it as quality over quantity, where you might choose very few things, but they are of very high quality. That includes your material necessities and luxuries, your friendships, your belief system even. Keep it simple. Keep it easy for you to practice with friends, easy for you to meet up with them and have genuinely good times. This is simplicity in action. So if today you wanted to just consider that part of living simply, where your choices represent quality over quantity, that's a very good place to start. It's not the only place, because maybe you don't want so much quantity even if it's quality, just as an example. Things like that. At the end of the day, the less you have, that you are worrying about and stressing about, and just having to put your attention on is just better, is all I can say. And then the other thing to remember while you are simplifying is to remember it is not enforced. If you have to strive to give up something in your life, that's not making your life simple. Actually, enforcing anything or forcing anything complicates life. And so, again, the opposite of simplicity. So it's not an enforcement, it is a flow. It feels natural, it feels good, and your life is bettered by it. So let's talk about simplicity in the material sense. What would material simplicity look like? And I will repeat the point, it is not living a hermit-like existence, but from my point of view, material simplicity could be summed up simply like this. Do you own your possessions, or do they own you? This is what makes life complicated, right? Because if you hold on to or cherish things that are by nature fleeting, they, may pass, they may break, they may be taken from you. So the complexity of your life is determined by how attached you are to all these things, how attached you are to what these things mean for you, or what they give you in terms of status or standing or what have you. Because then we are doing things other than what is truly good for us, or we are doing things for reasons other than what is truly good for us. And in the same way, our lack of possessions, do they own us, or do we own them, or do we not own them? Because if we are hung up on how much we don't have, or how we don't have this thing, then we will complicate our lives in an attempt to either get them when we don't have the means, or simply be resentful, be negative in our deepest being because of the lack. So material simplicity could also be simply making do. Consider what you have and be accepting of it. Be grateful for it. Or if you can't be grateful, just be resigned and say, okay, this is what I have and I will make do. It is really cutting your coat to suit your cloth. So today, have a think about that and see if you can change either your thinking or your situation to simplify your material existence. So when it comes to keeping our thoughts simple, all those machinations and gears clanging around in our head, there's a very straightforward recommendation, and it is this: do not overthink. That's what gets all the mind chatter churning away. What did this mean, or how did this pan out, etc., etc. And the reason we overthink is because we don't know the truth, or we are not seeing the truth, or we are trying to circumnavigate the truth. And so we think and think and think, and we try to find angles, and we try to find ways that don't present themselves, but they don't present themselves for the reason that they don't exist. And we overthink in an attempt to bring them into being. So having mental clarity and mental simplicity is simply this: see the truth, get to the truth, and then you're done. Then you have much mental space to deal with constructive things rather than spending it dealing with stuff. When it comes to emotional simplicity, it's actually right here is the case for quality over quantity when it comes to your associations, the people that you have any sort of relationship with. Because if you are continually off balance, wondering what is going on with that person, how could they do this thing, or how could they say this thing, your emotions are going to be the furthest thing from simple, right? They're going to be in turmoil, and you probably won't be able to even say what exactly you're feeling at any given point in time, because there's so much conflict and conflicting thoughts from yesterday's ideas and emotions in you. And the thing about emotional simplicity, and the reason for keeping your emotions simple, is simply this: if you are clear and clean and just peaceful and tranquil, at the end of the day, this is what emotional simplicity is, where there's a deep well of peace inside you. Yes, can you get aggravated? Possibly, nobody's a saint, but these are surface things. They don't disturb that in-depth, intrinsic peace and stability that you have emotionally, right? So if you can clear your life of triggering factors, shall I say, it could be people, it could be situations, where you can get a hold of your emotions and you can keep them simple, then the brilliant thing is you are clean and clear, and your emotional life is simplicity itself. So the benefit of this is, if you are ever being thrown off balance, or just that those tranquil waters are being disturbed, you know it immediately. You know it in an instant. And then you can do what you choose with it. But the thing is, when your emotional life is simple, you have a great resource going forward to keeping it that way. So today let's talk about psychological simplicity. And we don't even need to talk about spiritual simplicity, because when you are operating as your spiritual self, which is your true self, your life will be simple, because you are operating from the source of pure truth, right? So at this last level, simplicity is simply ridding yourself of biases, of prejudices, of fears, of things that just block you and trip you up, but worse than that, cause you to make ill-judged decisions, which then become the source of complexity at all the levels below it, right? And this is why one must go in stages. Clear your material, clear your mental, clear your emotional, and then clear your psychological, because you need that clarity at the psychological level to see what's going on. And you can't have clarity if the rest of the levels are more complicated than the others, right? So you need to clear your life gradually with the more tangible things. And then when you get past the emotional level, so your emotions are pretty clear and understandable to you, then you'll be able to see the remaining stuff, the remaining things that are hijacking you are psychological, and then you are in a more stable position to determine what to do about them. So psychological simplicity is simply this: don't have anything in your subconscious. Bring it up to conscious level, deal with it, get rid of it if it doesn't serve you. And then life becomes truly simple, because there are no hidden agendas within yourself that are tripping you up. And truthfully, it is as simple as that. You don't have to spend hours thinking about the past and etc., etc. That just muddles your thinking and muddies the water. So that, for me, is psychological simplicity. Don't have psychological stuff going on. And finally, to wrap up this week, I was reading the comments section of a blog post that was on simplicity, and interestingly enough, quite a few of the comments had this as content. They said, oh, we need or simplicity is a luxury for the rich, something along those lines. So they did not view simplicity as something that someone who is struggling to just survive could afford. So this is rather amusing if you think about it, because especially if you are struggling to survive, simplicity is not even a necessity. Forget luxury. It's imperative. It's imperative that you simplify life down to what is just absolutely essential, so that you can handle your existing present circumstances and you can better them. Because when we are running around like headless chickens and rushing decisions and making decisions out of fear and desperation, these are the times that our lives start unraveling, or we enter a downward spiral where our choices are not for us. Our choices are based on our circumstances. So at the end of the day, this is what simplicity does. It clears your life of things that you are expending your energy on, and it releases your energy, your life force, which is energy at all levels. It's the physical energy you have, mental, emotional, psychological, and the energy of your true self. It releases energy at all these levels to progress your life, to further your true agendas. Because honestly, when we have convoluted thinking, when we have emotions that are just negative and difficult to understand, let alone control, our physical health takes a hit, and then we have more stuff to complicate our lives with. So the message for you today is very strongly this: simplicity, as with consciousness, is never a luxury. It's a necessity, and it's something you would be better off getting into your life sooner rather than later.